Walk onto any modern trading floor, and the environment tells you one thing. Wealth is a product of constant activity. It looks like a high-speed race of data, tickers, and aggressive signaling. But there is a persistent gap between processing power and performance. History is full of individuals with IQs above 160 who followed the data straight into bankruptcy. Having a high-functioning brain does not protect an investor from a total loss of capital. Much of what is taught in elite business schools reinforces this gap. They focus on mathematical theories like Black-Scholes and Greek letter variables. It creates a professional-looking veneer of complexity, but often ignores the actual core of a business. Charles Darwin maintained a different kind of discipline. He knew the human mind was designed to instantly reject information that challenged its core beliefs. To counter this, he forced himself to write down conflicting evidence within minutes of finding it, before his own brain could discard it. Buffett and Munger rely on similar psychological honesty. They don't attribute their success to complex modeling, but to a concept Munger calls uncommon sense. It is the ability to recognize a foolish decision and actively step away from it. The goal is to strip away the 99.9% of choices that don't directly contribute to long-term returns. It's about moving past noise and focusing on the few decisions that actually move the needle. The first filter is a rigid boundary. You must define exactly what you understand, and more importantly, what you don't. This is the circle of competence. If you aren't sure where your boundary ends, you are already operating outside of it. Buffett would rather own 3 businesses like Coca-Cola, companies he understands at a fundamental economic level, than 50 companies he only vaguely recognizes. Concentrating capital into a few deeply understood assets provides a level of safety that standard diversification cannot reach. This means letting tech booms or trending sectors pass by without participation. It requires the discipline to prioritize certainty over the fear of missing out on a trend. The second filter evaluates the long-term survival of the business. You are looking for an expanding economic moat and a management team that acts with the integrity of a castle's lord. In a capitalist system, every profitable castle is under constant attack. Most moats eventually fail. If a business looks vulnerable to a new competitor, it is eliminated from the list. Aesop's rule defines the math. Weigh 1 bird in your hand today against getting 2 in the bush 5 years from now. Interest rates act as gravity. At 20%, future birds become worthless compared to the cash you hold right now. This filter removes any business that requires a speculative miracle to succeed. Buffett and Munger look for the rare situation where they only have to be right once. The final filter is applied at the moment of the decision. It is the immediate removal of overcalculation. During the 1972 World Chess Championship, researchers looked at how players like Bobby Fischer handled the pressure of choice. They found that grandmasters like Fischer and Boris Spassky don't necessarily calculate moves faster than a computer. Instead, they possess the ability to instantly categorize and eliminate 99.9% of the useless possibilities on the board. Buffett uses the same grandmaster logic. He avoids using computers or complex calculators for his initial analysis. If an investment requires a calculator to prove it's a good deal down to the 3rd decimal point, it isn't obvious enough. A truly great investment should be so clear that it practically shouts at the investor. Clarity comes from this specific type of subtraction, removing everything but the decisions that are so obvious they are impossible to ignore. Once you have filtered out the noise and the bad businesses, you are left with the most difficult task. You have to wait. The stock market exists solely to serve you with prices. It is an auction house, not a teacher. It can tell you what others are willing to pay, but it cannot tell you what a business is actually worth. Obsessing over daily price changes creates a state of constant anxiety. Munger identifies this specific emotion as a primary enemy of long-term performance, because it often forces investors to abandon their logic at the exact moment they need it most. If that anxiety can be controlled, the mathematical power of compound interest can take over. Like a snowball on a long slope, it only requires 2 things: a cold environment and a very long runway. Munger's observation over decades is that most failures come from a lack of psychological temperament. It is the inability to remain still while the rest of the world is reacting to the crowd. Building wealth is a test of temperament. It belongs to those with the courage to sit in silence within their circle of competence, while the rest of the world reacts to the illusion of action.